In the quiet release of what is held too tight, the heart finds its song again. Such was the thought that echoed through the stillness of the forest, a voice that seemed to resonate with the whispering leaves and the gentle flow of the nearby stream. But for Haru, a weary traveler, this notion felt like a distant dream, a melody he no longer remembered how to sing. As he ambled down a narrow, winding path, each step felt heavy, an anchor of sorrow pulling him deeper into the earth. Haru had journeyed far, the landscapes behind him blurred into a tapestry of pain and loss. His family, once the core of his existence, had been taken from him, leaving him adrift in an ocean of grief. Each day was a battle against the waves of memory that threatened to drown him. No matter how far he traveled, the weight of his heart shackled him in a past he couldn't escape. In his mind, he replayed moments that now felt like shadows, echoes of laughter and warmth, replaced by silence and coldness. Regret. What was the purpose of moving forward when every path led him back to those memories? The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the path, urging him forward. It was then that he first caught sight of the Zen monastery, nestled among the vibrant cherry blossoms dancing in the evening breeze. The sight halted him in his tracks. It radiated an aura of peace that beckoned to his weary spirit. Haru had read about such places, where the wisdom of the ancients lingered in the air, where one could seek solace and perhaps find answers to the questions that tormented his heart. With a deep breath, he approached the entrance, where the wooden door creaked open as if welcoming him back to a world he had long forgotten. Inside, the tranquility enveloped him like a warm blanket, the soft fragrance of incense mingling with the earthy scent of polished wood. He felt a flicker of hope, a small flame igniting within the depths of his heart. Perhaps here, among the monks who practiced the art of, would he be able to truly release the sorrow that bound him? The thought seemed insurmountable, an insidious whisper that told him he was unworthy of peace. As he wandered through the harmonious gardens, he observed the monks in quiet meditation, their faces serene and unburdened. A pang of envy washed over him. How could they achieve such tranquility while he remained ensnared in his turmoil? Days turned into weeks as Haru immersed himself in the practices of the monastery. He watched the monks as they moved with grace, their actions a symphony of life unencumbered by the weight of the past. Yet despite his efforts, his heart still bore the unbearable heaviness of grief, a shackle he couldn't break. Each morning began with hopeful determination, but as the sun set, he would find himself alone in the depths of his sorrow, grappling with the very act of letting go. His attempts were often futile. He would try to meditate, to quiet his racing thoughts, but memories of laughter and war. The old man's presence seemed to glow with wisdom, his eyes carrying the weight of countless stories untold. Without a word, he settled beside Haru, gazing into the water, as if seeing beyond the surface. "What troubles your heart, young traveler?" the monk asked, his voice like the gentle rustling of leaves. Haru's heart raced, a mixture of frustration and vulnerability. "I cannot seem to let go of my past," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "My grief is a chasm I cannot cross." The monk nodded knowingly. "Ah, but what if I told you that holding on to grief does not honor those you have lost? What if instead, letting go brought you closer to them?" Haru turned to look at the monk, confusion clouding his heart. "But how? How can I let go of their memory without losing them forever?" The old man smiled gently, like the dawn breaking after a long night. "To release is not to forget, young one. It is to acknowledge their existence within you, allowing their essence to guide. It bends with the wind, adapting to its surroundings while remaining rooted. Can you bend like the bamboo, allowing grief to become a part of your journey rather than an anchor holding you in place? Haru's mind wrestled with the metaphor, the image of bending rather than breaking, igniting a flicker of understanding. Yet, the path to acceptance remained obscured in the fog of his sorrow. With a rustle of fabric, the monk rose to leave, but not before casting one last glance at Haru. Remember, it is not the act of forgetting, but the act of embracing that paves the way to peace. The choice is yours. As the monk walked away, Haru gazed into the still waters, reflecting on the words that hung heavy in the air. Could he truly embrace the idea of letting go, or would he remain shackled to the grief that defined him? The question lingered, like the last rays of sun sinking below the horizon, casting shadows on his heart. And thus, the stage was set for a journey of transformation, a confro. But could he gather the courage to bend with the winds, or would he remain trapped in the storms of his own making? As the echoes of Haru's contemplation faded into the stillness of the night, the journey of letting go had only just begun. But before he could discover the deeper wisdom awaiting him, there was an invitation for those listening. As the story unfolds, do join in this quest of understanding by liking and sharing. Your engagement lights the path for more tales of wisdom to come. As the old monk sat beside Haru, the gentle ripples of the pond reflected the fading hues of twilight. The silence between them was profound, filled with unspoken understanding. The monk's presence felt like a warm embrace, a reminder that he was not alone in his struggle. Haru turned to the elder, his eyes searching for answers. "Why can't I move on?" he finally asked, his voice barely a whisper, soaked in the weight of his sorrow. The monk smiled softly, his gaze still fixed on the water. It simply allows them to pass. Haru followed the monk's gaze, watching as the stream danced over stones, its waters glistening under the last rays of sunlight. "But I am not a river," he replied, frustration rising in his chest. "I cannot simply let go of my pain. It clings to me like a shadow." The monk turned to Haru, his eyes reflecting the depth of his years. "Ah, but therein lies your struggle. You think of letting go as losing something precious. In truth, it is about freeing yourself from the burden of what you cannot change. The river does not mourn the leaves it carries. It knows that they will return to the earth, enriching it anew." Haru pondered this, a flicker of realization igniting within him. "So, it's not about forgetting my family or the moments we shared?" "Exactly," the monk replied, nodding gently. "Your memories will always be a part of you, like the stones beneath the riverbed. They shape who you are, but they do not need to weigh you down. Embrace them, Hano." He had been fighting against the current, trying to hold onto his pain as if it were a lifeline. But what if he could release it, just as the river released its burdens? What if he could allow his grief to be carried away, transforming it into something more? "Letting go does not mean forgetting," the monk added, sensing the shift in Haru's spirit. "It means accepting that life is a series of moments, each one fleeting, yet beautiful in its transience. What was once a heavy anchor can become a gentle breeze that guides you forward." Haru closed his eyes, envisioning the river again. He imagined himself standing at its edge, watching the water carry away his sorrow, his regrets, and his fears. He felt the warmth of acceptance wrap around him like a cocoon. The memories of his family were not lost. Instead, they became the essence of his strength, a foundation upon which he could build a new life. "Now let us practice," the monk said, rising to his feet. "Join me at the water's edge. Take a handful, and as you release it back into the river, visualize your pain flowing away with it." Hesitant at first, Haru knelt beside the monk. He filled his hands with the cool, clear water, feeling its life coursing through him. With a deep breath, he released it back into the river, watching as it mingled with the current. "Let it go," the monk whispered, his voice like a gentle breeze. Feel the weight lift. As he watched the water flow away, Haru felt a rush of emotion surge through him. Sadness, relief, and a profound sense of liberation. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, he allowed himself to truly feel his grief, to acknowledge it without letting it consume him. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but they were no longer tears of despair. They were tears of release. The monk remained silent, allowing Haru to experience the profound shift within him. Slowly, Haru began to understand the power of letting go. It was not about erasing the past, but rather embracing it. I can honor my family while still moving forward. The monk smiled, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. Remember, Haru, the river will always flow. Life will continue to offer you new experiences. Embrace them with an open heart, and you will find joy once more. As the stars began to twinkle above them, Haru felt a sense of peace enveloping him. The burdens he had carried for so long no longer felt insurmountable. He had learned that true strength lay not in holding on to pain, but in releasing it, allowing the currents of life to guide him toward healing and hope. With newfound clarity, Haru stood up, ready to embrace the journey ahead. The moonlight illuminated the path before him, a reminder that while the past would always be a part of him, it would no longer define him. He would honor the memories of his loved ones, but he would also allow himself to sing his own song once more. As he turned to leave the pond, the monk called out to him softly, "But the master still had another reva."